Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sharon Jobity, and I am the Director of Human Resources with the Ontario Centres of Excellence. And it's my pleasure to be your host here this morning at the International Cafe as we have some presentations on this morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce you today to the provincial and federal government organizations who are specifically focused on international trade, who are critical partners in the innovation space here in Ontario. And together they offer innovators and entrepreneurs a variety of programs, services, opportunities, and expert advice and support their network of offices in Ontario and around the world. So, as well, we are delighted this morning to have a British delegation who will be visiting us. We were expecting a delegation from China. Unfortunately, they will not be able to make it this morning as planned, but we are happy to have our British delegation here, and they'll be making a presentation a little later on this morning. Our first presentation will be from the International Trade Branch of the Ministry of Economic Development and Innovation. And the International Trade Branch assists international buyers to source Ontario products and services and establish business partnerships with Ontario companies. Presenting this morning is Marek Karwowski, International Market Consultant, USA, Construction, Environment, and Renewable Energy, and Roshan, Mohan, Manager, International Markets. They'll be making their presentation, and I know there'll be some time after the presentation if you have any questions. So please welcome Marek and Mohan.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Roshan Mohan. I'm a manager in the International Trade Branch of MEDI. As representatives of the Ontario government, we are delighted to give you an overview on the programs and services we offer to Ontario companies in terms of consulting, in terms of funding support, in terms of market intelligence, and how we help you across the world. The two core focus for our branch is to help small to medium-sized companies export globally. So as you know, SMEs are the backbone of our economy. And they account for almost 98% of all exporters in the province and 62% of the value of exports. The trade branch is also critical to the economy because we know that trade accounts for 77% of our gross domestic product. And at least every time we create $1 billion in exports, that creates around 5,000 jobs in our economy and adds $780+ million to our GDP. We also know that exports drive productivity, innovation, and high-quality jobs. So from that standpoint, the government of Ontario is committed to helping small to medium-sized companies become global exporters. There's another reason where we have placed emphasis on growing internationally beyond the borders of the US. US still accounts for 77% of our export market, and it's going to remain our biggest export market. But we want to make sure that our companies are looking at borders beyond the US. As the world changes and the nature of international dynamics of how people export has changed, we as a province and our companies here need to be in tune with the global scenario. What we see is in the 90s, there was an exponential growth in our value of exports and the number of exporters, and that was primarily driven by integration of our economy with the US through NAFTA. Since 2000, that integration seems to have plateaued. We see a stagnation in the number of exporters and the value of exports. US will, as I said, will be our major trading partner going forward. But the impact of recession showed us, how difficult it is for us to be just focused on one economy. Our exports currently are below where we were in year 2000. So from a province's standpoint of view, it's important to diversify your markets. And when you say exporting, it's not just about selling your product elsewhere. As the world changes, we are looking at a different model of international trade. Emerging markets are a key to our growth, like the BRIC countries are there. Mexico still, I don't think we have fully integrated with that economy. Our exports right now is only $1 billion. And we have seen stagnation in the economies in US and Japan. So given that, I think what Conference Board has specified and what we believe in the Ontario government, I believe my federal colleagues also believe, is that as companies go global, they need to develop global production systems. You need to look at outbound investment in a positive light, and you need to tap into the global supply chain of major multinationals around the world. And imports are good, provided they are adding value to your exports and reducing your costs, so you become a global player. The mandate of, in terms of international trade for us in the provincial government is to assist small to medium-sized companies expand globally. So we offer a range of programs and services. We showcase Ontario internationally to create a profile for Ontario as a place where you can source innovative products and services. We have a range of export skills development programs that are supposed to develop community-level knowledge of exporting to create awareness and create more exporters in the province. And we have a team that is market specialist, so we provide market expertise to our minister's office, the broader ministry, and also the Ontario Public Service. And that expertise is also transferred to companies across the province. And we are the key when it comes to delivering premiers and ministers' missions. The most important service we offer is one-on-one market consulting. So that's where most of our staff, the consultants, have a practical experience in doing business abroad in the markets that they cover. And they also take companies quite often on delegations, like at least 2 to 3 times a year. They have well plugged into the international networks in those markets. So the kind of consulting they can provide is not just how to export, it's also practical advice on what you need to watch for when it comes to exporting. That having that kind of expertise based here in Ontario, I think, is very useful for companies, and that's where we believe we add value. We take around 60 plus outbound missions every year across the world. They're focused on priority sectors and markets. So those missions are either standalone missions, i.e. not connected to any trade mission. There'll be a program set up for companies which include seminars, networking events, one-on-one partnering meetings, depending on your need. Or it could be tied to a trade show. So you'll have an exhibition space, and plus you'll have programming done for you. We'll have also focus on bringing buyers to the province. So there's a whole range of incoming buyers programs we work consistently. And we provide market intelligence through various forms. It could be seminars, it could be webinars, it could be virtual trade missions, and so forth. And as I mentioned, we deliver the premiers and ministers' missions. And we provide advocacy for you with international buyers and decision makers. So it's not just our staff here, but we have a global network, which I'll show you in a minute. And as I mentioned, we provide various export skill developments. It could be first steps in exporting, so to understand the nuts and bolts of where you should go to find resources to help you export. It could be new exporters to border state programs. It's primarily focused on helping companies take their first steps in the US market, and we'll teach you about customs aspects you should be aware of, moving your products across the border, the logistics portion, and so forth. The team, it's a small but very effective team. We have around 25 people, and every year we help around 1,000 Ontario small to medium-sized companies, of which 400 to 500 of them go on our trade missions to different countries. The management team comprises of a director and the 3 managers. I'm one of those, and each person has a different geographic focus. So the US and EU team is handled by Pamela Cantor. There's a North Asia, Middle East, and South America team handled by Richard Gould, and I cover South and Southeast Asia and Mexico all the way down to Central America, Caribbean, and Colombia and Venezuela. The most important aspect, as I mentioned, is the international market consultant. Like Marek Karwowski here is an expert on the environmental sector for US. Akhil Tyagi here is an expert on the India market. The kind of advice they give you would be where we can add value. And we speak many languages in the ministry. We have a speaker on 14 languages. And beyond the team, in terms of a global footprint, we have hired some in-market trade development representatives. These are people on contract, and they're based in Mexico, Brazil, Chile, and the UAE, covering the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. So they are on contract. They provide market intelligence. They can help you find connections with with buyers, partners, and so forth. They are an extension of our operations. We need to make sure that we are taking advantage of that resources. In addition, we have also international marketing centers. These are led by senior economic officers. They have a diplomatic status, co-located in the high commissions. We have 10 of those, 2 in China, 2 in India, which is a major office and a satellite office, 3 in Europe, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Japan, and 2 in the US, in LA and New York. So these are resources that can provide you with on-the-ground support. I'm also happy to let you know that we have recently put more money through our provincial partner, Ontario Chamber of Commerce, to help you with funding support for companies. It's now called the Global Growth Fund, and it has 2 different components. One is the Ontario Exporters Fund, which helps small to medium-sized companies hire an export manager to develop an international business strategy and implement it. The support can be for 2 years, maximum of $80,000 over 2 years. So, and it's only the salary portion, so $40,000 say per year in terms of salary. It should be 50% of whatever you are paying to the export manager. I think we had a pilot program done last year and it has been successful, so we are continuing to provide that level of support. Other portion is the export market access, which is to provide, if you're going out in an outbound mission or you're participating in an incoming mission, you want to exhibit there somewhere, you want to develop marketing materials, or you want to conduct market research or that kind of stuff, or bid in foreign capital projects. In those cases, you can get funding. It can range from $5,000 to $30,000. 50% of what you're spending. Only thing is market research, we provide only $5,000, but any other component that I mentioned will get up to a maximum of $30,000. This is a wonderful tool as you think about going global and taking advantage of provincial resources. So you have not just the manpower, we also have the funding program to support you. I would like now to ask my colleague Marek to come and give an insight on some new initiatives that we have.
Thank you, Roshan. As Roshan said, I'm going to drill down a little bit on some of the programs and services we offer. 3 things specifically. One is an information program, and I want to talk about 2 of the sectors which we're covering. Just to backtrack a bit, my name is Marek Karwowski. I'm the international market consultant. I focus on the US market for environmental products and services, for building and construction products and services, which tends now to be almost only sustainable building materials and services and technologies, as well as renewable energy products and services. So as I said, there's 3 things I want to talk about. One is this new information tool which we've designed. If you go to our website, www.ontarioexports.com, click on Find a Supplier, you'll come to this database, which is a new initiative. The data you can, as an international buyer, prospective international buyer, you can put in the sector you're looking for, you can put in what kind of products you're looking for, and find an Ontario supplier. Right now, this database is populated with information from the Strategis, the Canadian company capabilities database, which is run by the federal government, and we use the Ontario portion of that. But it's a developing tool. In the future, we hope to be able to attach things like small videos and extra information about companies into this tool. So it's a new initiative, something very interesting. As I mentioned, I want to drill down a bit to talk about how we focus on specific sectors in specific markets. As we're only 20 people, relatively small group, we can't be all things to all people. So we definitely prioritize some specific sectors and some specific markets. And when I say prioritize, this is what we do some sort of advanced research. We actually have international missions for these specific areas. As the slide says, we have a balance of developed markets, US, Europe, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and developing or emerging markets, so Mexico, various markets in Asia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkey, the GCC, China, India, of course, Southeast Asia. but we don't cover all sectors in all markets. So we've identified specific sectors in which Ontario has great capabilities, and we've matched that to the markets in which there is demand for Ontario products, and Ontario can be competitive in those markets. So you can see, for example, in let's go back here. I think we have a bit of crosstalk with the button, and probably other people are clicking on their presentations in other areas. Let's go back here. Where are you going back? There we go. For example, for clean technology, you can see that on almost all markets we have clean tech programs. Throughout all the developed markets, most of the emerging markets. ICT, information communications technology, is similar. But life sciences, we're focusing on the States, Europe, and the GCC. Things like, for example, aerospace, United States, Europe, and GCC as well. This is a graphical representation of the ICT sector, information communications technologies, where we have programs happening in the current fiscal year. That's a graphical representation. I'll just let you forward. There we go. There we go. And show you some of the actual trade missions that we're running this year. So in Asia, there's missions to Communicasia in Singapore. There's an ICT mission to Taipei in China, wireless mission to Japan and South Korea, telecom mission to New Delhi and Mumbai. And you can kind of tell from this slide a little bit about our philosophy for this particular sector. For ICT, in the developing, that is the emerging markets, we tend to focus on wireless and telecom. That's where really the movement is right now. For developed markets, for the US, for Europe, we add to those two areas, we add a lot of digital media, gaming, animation, also e-health and also e-finance. So those are a little bit more sophisticated areas that we're looking at in the developed markets. To continue, you can see in South America, there's a security mission. Also, we're looking at security missions in some specific markets. To Mexico, that's IT security. Incoming telecom program from Peru. Mission to Brazil and Peru as well. That's FutureCom happening in October. In the United States, there's a wireless mission that happened just recently to CTIA in New Orleans. My colleague Maurizio Ospina just got back from that on Monday. There's going to be an interactive media mission to SIGGRAPH. So that's, as I said, we're focusing on digital media in some markets. Security mission to ACES in Philly. Incoming buyers program linked to the World WCIT conference happening in Montreal. Also a cybersecurity mission to RSA in San Francisco coming up next February 2013. In the Middle East, there's a mission to GTEx in Dubai in October. And many missions, of course, ICT to Europe. There's a IFSEC mission to Birmingham. MIFA, which is the big animation event happens in France that's going on in this June. IBC, which is International Broadcasting Conference in Amsterdam. IT mission to Moscow. A healthcare IT mission to Copenhagen. IT mission to Istanbul. Financial services, that's e-finance mission to the UK in October. And of course, the big Mobile World Congress happening in Barcelona next February. The other sector I want to focus on is clean tech, environment, renewable energy. Again, a graphical interpretation of where our priority events are happening in the current fiscal year. And then I'm going to run down some of the things that we're doing. As you can see from this large list of Asian events, a lot of focus on Asia in terms of environmental infrastructure and environmental technologies. There's going to be a mission to Aquatech, a water mission. This underlines a very, very strong concentration in water technology that we've been undertaking for the last, I guess, 2 years. So Aquatech in China, Singapore International Water Week, and a accompanying mission to the Philippines happening at the end of June. There's a webinar. We also do webinars, as Roshan mentioned. So that's covering the Japan and South Korea market, date to be announced. Webinar on the environmental market in India, which Akhil will be organizing the 28th of May, coming up. Another webinar on water sector opportunities in Southeast Asia in June. IWA Water Congress in South Korea. another webinar in South Asia on the clean energy market. Water tech in India happening in, that's September, end of September. Singapore International Energy Week happening in October, and a clean energy mission to Japan happening next February. Other environmental and clean tech programs include, just completed actually, so you're out of luck on this one if you wanted to go to IFAT and be part of the Ontario delegation. Very, very successful mission. We haven't been to IFAT in many years. You may know it's the world's largest environmental event, and it was a great success. We had some strong companies in water technology and remediation technology that took part in the Ontario portion of the Canadian Pavilion at IFAT. Middle East, we have the World Future Energy Summit happening in Abu Dhabi next January. South America, there's going to be an incoming delegation in December from Brazil ABS. That's the Brazil Water Authority, one of the national water organizations. And in the US, 3 of the programs which I am running this year, Solar Power International will be our first time we have an Ontario pavilion at SPI. That's in September. WEFTech, we've had an Ontario pavilion at WEFTech for many years. It's a great, great event for water technology, one of the world's largest water events, definitely the largest in North America. About 30 or so Ontario companies participate in WEFTech each year. We have about 8 of those companies in the Ontario Pavilion. And there will be an interesting event happening in November. The AWWA, the American Waterworks Association, has an event in Toronto, sort of a smaller conference called the Water Quality Technology Conference and Exhibition, happening in Toronto, about 3,000 people. And because it's in Toronto, we're taking advantage of that to encourage a lot of the international delegates, particularly Americans who are attending that, we're going to be having a program where they can do B2B meetings with Ontario suppliers. We can visit offices and manufacturing plants of Ontario suppliers, and maybe visit a few of the water and wastewater facilities in Ontario. Okay, I think that's it for all of the programs we're doing. I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A. Important thing, if you want information on what we're doing, please go to the website, ontarioexports.com. Click on our calendar of events. Also, we have a listing of all of our direct phone lines, all of our email addresses, and what we do. There's a link to the Find a Supplier section of the website. There's a link to, talks about the NEBS, the New Exporters to Border States program. There's a lot of resources there. There's market studies on various markets around the world. And it's a great place to first learn a little bit about what we do. And I think basically that's it for the International Trade Branch. And I'd like to open it up if you have any questions. Yes? Sure. Roshan?
These programs are administered on our behalf by the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. The Exporters Fund is meant for companies with revenues of around $1 million to $20 million and maybe less than 50% in export sales. So these companies have shown some level of success in exporting, but they want to take it to the next level. But many of them, what we heard from companies here is that they don't have the kind of internal skill set and a dedicated manager to develop a strategy and implement it. We don't want people to jump on the next trade mission and go somewhere. We want people to do research, make sure they have identified the right markets. Might not be the BRIC countries, it might be something smaller like a market in the Caribbean, for example. So that's the kind of support we are hoping the Exporters Fund can provide. As I said, it's 50% of what you pay for the exporters, export manager, up to a maximum of $40,000 a year for 2 years. So $80,000 is what we come in. Not just developing the strategy, we want practical results being shown as a result of implementing the strategy. So that's the Exporters Fund. The Export Market Access Fund is a complementary. These two go together. It's meant for companies with a minimum of $500,000 in revenues, below 500 employees, so really the small to medium-sized companies. What we have seen, most of the guys who take advantage of it are really small to medium-sized companies, and kind of the client base we have in many of these ICT clean tech sectors. There's a very innovative firms that have innovated, commercialized their technology, and now ready to go beyond even the US market and so forth. So that's the, and there it's a whole range of. We have information there under our programs and services, but there's also a direct link. I provide a website link called Ontario Exporters Fund. If you Google it, or there's a link there that I provided. It's funding, as I mentioned, hosted by the Ontario Chamber of Commerce on our behalf. Previously, even our federal colleagues have also provided funding towards it, and we are hoping it will happen in the future. Mm-hmm.
Bring up the page again. Our IT guys. Two or three more.
Yeah, so that's the one, and it's the website address is ontarioexporters, plural.ca. Any other questions or? Okay, so in terms of reaching out to us, it's a dual approach. We have a comprehensive database of clean tech companies, so we do approach them to be part of the trade mission. The companies can also go on our website, ontarioexports.com, and there the calendar of events would have information there. The value proposition is, if you had to go abroad on a trade mission by yourself, it's very expensive. You want to take up trade show space, you want to develop marketing materials. So the provincial government really believes that we need to help you in that process. So what we have done there is we take up the trade show space. We will have an Ontario pavilion. In many cases, it will be part of the Canadian pavilion. So you get immediate visibility in the market. Companies know that you're a company from Ontario, Canada, and it gives a lot of credibility. We cover most of the cost of setting up this whole space. We charge you, the companies, a nominal fee, and that small fee is actually to make sure that you are participating in you have a skin in the game kind of thing. Once you're there, you can also take advantage of the Export Market Access Fund, for example, to cover 50% of your cost. So, in all, it's a very economical proposition for you. And once you're on the market, the one-on-one meetings that we organized on your behalf, depending on your business interests, is where the real value lies. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Very important point, yeah. So if Akhil takes a delegation, for example, he is on the ground, so he can represent you and identify leads for you and bring it back to you, so you can follow up. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Do you know the details? Still in early stage.
The person you should talk to, a woman by the name of Maureen Angus, and I'll give you the contact information, her phone number and email. What we usually do with those incoming groups is we arrange several group and one-on-one meeting opportunities, put it that way. So there'll be a networking opportunity, there'll be sort of a group dinner, and often there'll be opportunity to do presentations in front of the incoming group. And then there'll be also opportunity to have sort of set aside one-on-one meetings. That's the general format of any kind of incoming program. This one in specific, I can't tell you. Maureen will be able to tell you more. But yeah, feel free to drop her an email and let her know, about your company, what you do, what you're interested in. We really try and tailor the way we work, the specific format of all of these programs, whether it's a mission, whether it's an incoming buyer, whether it's going to a trade show. We tailor it specifically to the companies which are participating in the event, the Ontario companies, and also to the opportunity which is there in the marketplace. Yes? Yes, we do. There's, just to let you know, we have a literature desk in our sort of little booth, just at the first aisle, right behind here, right next to the UK Trade and Investment. There's information there on what we do, a little a bulleted list of the services. Also, you'll find a few brochures such as these. This is the clean tech one. This is the ICT one, which lists all the programs for the incoming year. One thing, actually, before we have to cut this off, I wanted to get an idea before I left as to sort of who's in the room here and what areas that you're involved in. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I'd like to talk to you a bit further. Okay. No, I'm not. David, I think will be speaking later if you're. David Ogilvie, I believe, is either he's speaking later in this session or in another session. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How many people are involved in environmental products and services? Okay. And how many in information communications technologies and media? Okay. And how many people are sort of connectors, facilitators like myself that you're working with companies to help them internationally? Okay. So, and I guess the rest is a bit of a mix. Okay, that's good to know. For sectors other than clean tech, other than ICT, we have a lot of life sciences programs as well, and there's information in our booth on the life sciences programs, advanced manufacturing, aerospace. Technology is now is influencing all of these sectors, and a lot of the times Ontario's competitiveness lies in its advanced technology throughout all of these sectors. So we're really trying to focus on this area of Ontario's capabilities. And I think that's it. So thank you very much for attending this morning. And if you look forward to working with you if you're interested in working with the Ontario International Trade Branch, MEDI. Thanks. Okay, great.
Thank you, Marek and Roshan, for that very informative presentation and the types of services that you provide. We were scheduled to have a presentation by our Chinese delegation this morning. Unfortunately, they will not be able to attend. So our next presentation will be at 11 o'clock from the UK delegation, Minister Alistair Burt. We'll see you at 11. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Cansfield. I'm currently a provincial member of Parliament for the riding of Etobicoke Centre, and my responsibilities for economic trade development and innovation. In particular, I carry the innovation file. So I'm absolutely delighted to come this morning and take a moment to introduce our speaker, the Honourable Alistair Burt. Minister Burt is the MP for North East Bedfordshire, a riding some kilometres north of London in the United Kingdom. He was first elected in 1983, was re-elected in 2001, and has held multiple portfolios over the course of his very distinguished career. Minister Burt is the current Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and he is responsible for overseeing the UK relationships with the Middle East, North Africa, and North America. He is not busy at all, is he? Born in 1955, Alistair Burt was educated at the Bury Grammar School and studied at St. John's College in Oxford, where he was the president of the University Law Society. He then became a solicitor and served on the Haringey Council in London before deciding to run for public office. Minister Burt is here along with a delegation from the UK to speak today about the importance of innovation and, of course, the trade ties that lie between Canada and Great Britain. I look forward to your remarks, and I want to say welcome especially to this beautiful city of ours, and I wish you could stay it just a tad longer and keep this great weather for all of us. So welcome, Minister Burt.
Donna, thank you very much indeed. As a fellow parliamentarian, it's very nice to be introduced by you, and thank you very much for giving me the platform this morning. I'm not alone. I'm accompanied by our High Commissioner, Andrew Pocock, and by Jonathan Dart. And Jonathan is going to answer anything technical. As Donna indicated, I'm a parliamentarian. I'm responsible for a number of countries within the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So probed too deeply on science and technology, you would be in for an unfortunate time. That is why we go around mob-handed and we can answer some of your questions. But on general issues, I am absolutely your man, and I'm delighted, therefore, to get the chance to speak here and to be at this Discovery Conference. We're connected here in relation to innovation and research, which matters enormously to both our countries. In the United Kingdom, we look to commit some 14 billion Canadian dollars a year in terms of public expenditure on research and development, some $23 billion in the private sector, and altogether it makes up about 2% of our total GDP. And at a time when business and industry is stretched, investment in R&D, which was traditionally one of the easiest things to lose, is of course one of the worst things to lose. And a conference like this recognises how important it is for both our countries to keep up our investment in R&D. We try as a country to be open for business and open for research and development in particular, and we recognise the power contained in some of the new businesses we see around us. In recent times in our budget, we have increased the tax credits available for research and development now at 225%. We've reduced our corporation tax in the United Kingdom, so we still reckon we are a good place to come to for those businesses who are looking to expand, to take their ideas somewhere different, and look for the opportunity to work from a base here and take themselves over to Europe and take the opportunities of the growing market there. We think we've got a good track record of the sort of country where the sort of businesses and ideas represented in this exhibition would find a good home and be very welcome. Innovation, research and development was a key part of the strategic partnership signed last year between our respective Prime Ministers. And so it's recognised at the highest level in the United Kingdom as to how important it is for the two of us. And that leads me very nicely into talking about the relative trade between the two countries, which is growing apace. Now standing at something like 26 billion Canadian dollars in terms of our mutual trade. But that represents in 2010 an expansion of some 25% on the year before. So it shows an astonishing growth and an astonishing increase. Again, I think it's exhibitions such as this, I think it's the close connections between us in terms of history, the recognition of so much we share in common, that's building yet newer links between us. Because the relationship between United Kingdom and Canada is not just a historical one, it's a living one, it's one for today, and especially it's one for tomorrow. We share a lot of mutual companies. Brand names that are familiar to you in the high streets here represent the very best of British, whether it's fashion, whether it's food, whether it's the larger companies who are here in financial services. And the other way round, we have a number of Canadian companies who are now household brands in the United Kingdom. Fortnum & Mason, Primark, the National Lottery, Camelot, which raises so much money in the United Kingdom, is Canadian owned. So some 600 Canadian companies invest more than $83 billion a year in the United Kingdom economy. So that's another thing that binds us very closely together. This is a special year for us. 2012 is just the year when people might be looking at thinking of expanding into the United Kingdom or testing out what the United Kingdom has to offer. It is, of course, both an Olympic year and a Jubilee year. And the Jubilee year is especially important to us because, as far as Canada is concerned, we share our royal family. The royal family is very much Canada's royal family as it is that of the United Kingdom. And this is a very special year, therefore, with everything that's going on in London, with the Queen's Jubilee and with the Olympic preparation. We're very proud of the success we've already made in terms of our preparation for the Olympics. The stadia are ready, they've been well tested out, and we know that people who come here are going to have an absolutely tremendous time seeing the very best of the United Kingdom. We know that the Games are going to be very successful, And coming on the back of the Jubilee, it really makes the United Kingdom and London the place to come to at the beginning of this very special summer. But the United Kingdom is about more than just London. For those who visited before, you'll know that we've got many lovely places on offer, and many important centres of science and technology are all around the country. Whether it's our great university centres in places like Manchester, or whether it's life sciences, which are particularly important in Newcastle, whether it's some of the engineering sciences that are particularly important in Scotland and Wales. There's places to come in the United Kingdom where I suspect virtually everything that you will see around you in the exhibition will find somebody in the United Kingdom, some institution, some company ready to say, we can make something of this, we can work together, and therefore the partnership that we have between us. There's Scotland on your screen just now. So is this some sort of automatic system that picks up what I'm saying and reflects that? I've heard of all sorts of interesting devices here. I'm told there's an iPad that can work off mind power. But I'm very hesitant of testing that, because if you want to gauge a politician's mind power by how much an iPad can be made to work, I'm not prepared to put myself to that sort of public test. But others will do here. I'm looking forward to the morning immensely and seeing some of the exhibits. There's a UKTI stand here that I hope people will take the opportunity to go and see. But now, if there's anything technical to ask, this is where Jonathan comes in. But if there's anything general about the United Kingdom anyone would like to ask, I'd be delighted to help you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for showing an interest in what we're about. We're very interested in you, and we hope that today, somewhere, this is the start of a very beautiful friendship. Thank you very much. Jonathan, do you want to? If anyone's got any questions to throw at us, this is the opportunity. I'm prepared to talk about David Beckham and Pudsey the dog, but not about Manchester City. Or about the Eurozone, because we're outside it, and that may be a plus at the moment. A lot of nods around the table here. Okay, if that's it, but thank you very much indeed for your attention. It's been nice to see you.
Thanks, Minister Burt. Really appreciate you taking the time and to come out and see us today. So I'm going to turn it over to Sharon to close it up, and we'll be on our way.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes our presentations this morning. We will have some more presentations starting this afternoon at 2 o'clock on foreign affairs and international trade. I'd just like to remind everybody, if you want to make your way over for 11:45 to Hall F, where we will have the Discovery Luncheon and the awards ceremony starting at 11:45. Thank you for attending this morning, and we will see you this afternoon.